10th is going to be, or was, the peak of hurricane season, but this is a reminder that it lasts through November 30th. So we are just about to start October, so we're about here. There's a little bit of peak that happens again, a secondary peak that comes mid to late October, and then we start our fall. So overall, tropical development for the month of October tends to be right here into portions of the Western Caribbean, which is where we've seen a lot of activity lately, and there's still a chance of tropical development in that region. A lot of these systems do curve and turn back out into the Atlantic or skirt up the East Coast, which is very similar to what we just saw, unfortunately, with Helene. It was still September though, and it tracked a little bit further inland than this outlook. But we are watching this area right here once again for that chance of development. 50% chance of development as of this morning. This is a medium chance of development, but there are a lot of signs. So typically during October, they do curve, and a lot of that has to do with cold fronts that do move through. And we'll break down why I think there's a pretty decent shot that we get a curve of any system that does try to develop. However, there is some convection showing up in the Bay of Campeche also, and our tropical moisture is going to return later on into the week for South Texas. So we'll talk about all that in just a second, but I did want to point out all the other areas that are active. So this is still a very active time for the hurricane season. We have Tropical Depression 12, Tropical Depression Joyce, and Tropical Storm Isaac. None of those will be an impact to the United States. Also a 60% chance of development there with a tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa. Now, here's something, an interesting tidbit. As far as hurricanes go, there's only been 3 on record making landfall in Texas during the month of October, and these are the latest hurricanes on record. October 16th. For Corpus Christi, that was back in 1912, and then Galveston had an October 16th hurricane in 1989. So on our rain forecast, I did mention our tropical moisture returning. So Friday and Saturday does look like our best shot at rain. But again, this rain forecast keeps a lot of that rain in the Gulf of Mexico with a curve toward Florida, likely with anything that does try to develop. However, we see our tropical moisture returning later on this week. So when we take a look at the tropics, that's going to come with a trough that sets up, which is essentially like a tropical wave in the Bay of Campeche and moves toward Texas, bringing that moisture. That chance of development, that area in the Western Caribbean moving into the Central Gulf, then tapping into a trough or 2 cold fronts that are going to pass through, likely going to steer, have those steering winds taking that system through Florida, which again is not a great scenario no matter how strong the system ends up being for that Big Bend region. And so that's something worth keeping an eye on, but I'm not worrying about it for us locally here in Texas at this point. 81 degrees at 10 a.m., 90 degrees by noon, 95 with sunshine in Corpus Christi today. That is because of high pressure. So we're still dealing with high pressure. Overall northerly winds aloft. So that's going to keep us nice and sunny through Wednesday. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we see a chance for a little bit of rain. Of course, that could impact Friday Night Lights, the Blitz, and any activities such as Music Walk taking place on Friday. Barbie, John Thomas.